Hello Aki, hiya, thank you ever so much for joining us here on Geek Curio, and how are you today?
How are you? I've just been checking around, working on a last minute system changes for one of the projects I'm working on right now.
Oh, excellent. I've been following your progress on Twitter, and I know you've recently had a new release on the DM's Guild, which is Midsummers Knights Cream. I've read through the story and I really love it. But the first question I'd like to ask you today is, how did you get into role-playing games, please?
I've always been kind of interested. I've been a big vid game person in the
Mhm.
past. Well, I still am, but I recently got into D&D and TTRPGs thanks to a friend of mine. She organized a group for us. Back then, when we were in uni, everyone was very busy, so we never got to actually play. But finally, around December, we were like, you know what? We have got to do this. If not now, when?
Yeah.
So we pushed through with it. Like we pushed and we were able to get a group together. We're currently playing Descent into Avernus. It's crazy. We decided to do an all warlock party, which is never a good idea. It wasn't
Eldritch
for
Blast.
the
Eldritch Blast on constant.
yeah. And then after that, it kind of spiraled into what I have now, which is like this huge community that I'm working with. We call ourselves the OSS, or the one-shot server, where I moderate and I also DM and play in that server. We kind of just get people who are interested, and we teach them how to DM. We teach them how to play. We get people who are completely new. We get veterans, and that's kind of, it just snowballed into this one big community in a sense.
That's excellent. So you really enjoy D&D. Have you tried?
Oh, so much.
And which campaigns have you run? I think you mentioned
Right now, I'm doing Descent into Avernus, like I mentioned. I am going to run Riddle of the Raven Queen. Most of the stuff that we've been doing are actually homebrew campaigns.
Okay.
Like the Bounty Hunters by my friend, which was created by my friend Tintin. I also have run Wild Sheep Chase, which is really, it's just a short one shot, and it's one of my favorite to get new players into because it's short, it's sweet, but it's also got a lot of the elements. There's role playing, there's exploration, there's negotiation, there's also a lot of combat, so it gives you like a taste of everything.
Yes, I've played that one. I love that one. I did that with my niece and my nephews. That's a wonderful one. Is there any
It's a good intro.
Sorry?
It's really fun. It's like a very good intro.
It is. It is. I did the Wolves of Wereton and a Potent Brew as well from the same people. Those are great
Yes,
ones.
Potent Brew is also great.
So, besides D&D, do you play any other tabletop RPGs? I can see Munchkin on the shelf behind you.
Yes, so I actually used Munchkin to introduce my parents to tabletop RPGs.
Cool.
It's a bit complicated for them, but they actually enjoyed it when we finally got the flow going. So yeah, I'm always trying to get people to play tabletop RPGs. I also like Star Trek, so
cool.
you can't really see it. It's underneath the Munchkin. I have the Star Trek Road Trip, Pathfinder. What else? Well, I also have Divinity. Love Larian Studios. Those guys are great.
Yes, I'm looking
Especially
forward
with
to
Baldur's Gate 3 coming out.
Baldur's
So
Gate
it's
3.
exciting.
I love Star Trek as well. I've got the Star Trek Adventures. I've only played one game where I was GM, and I haven't played since. But I'm hoping that in my group, well, my group wants to play more. But it's great fun. I love the idea of there's now the Klingon crew you can do as well, so you can do Klingon adventures, which is fantastic.
Exciting.
I love the Klingons. So in D&D, obviously you said you did an all warlock party, which you said was a bad idea, but what class do you like playing the most, or is there any characters that you have that you really enjoyed playing?
Tricky question. As for class, I'm not gonna lie, my favorite class right now, as of right now, are rogues. Well, I love rogues. But if I was talking in general, it would be rogues. My second favorite would be sorcerers. Very small hit points, but they can pack a punch. Use them well, you manage the strategy, they can hit hard, and they hit really hard. As long as, of course, you protect them and, you use the right tactics.
Yeah.
I love the Genasi race. I find it so inventive, especially with people homebrewing so many subclasses for Genasi. Like, recently I found a dessert subrace.
Alright.
I thought I misread it, like I thought it was desert, but no, it was dessert.
Dessert?
It was like
Jello, or?
Yeah. Yes. Like ice cream and pudding, and I was like, oh, this is something really different, like, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
So you wouldn't want to be ice cream in a hot area or anything, would you?
Well, I just love. For me, it's just like that creative part of D&D that I just really love so much. It's, it encourages people to just go out and kind of make what they want.
I love how
try to bring that world to life.
Yes, I love how basically with D&D and other role-playing games, it's not just you but the whole group create this story. And I think with my group, I mean, we still talk about things that happened 2 or 3 years ago, and I think you probably have the same sort of, and it's wonderful.
I've only been playing for a few months now, but like sometimes we'll reference a joke from when we started, and that was like ages ago.
Yes, we still have
like ages ago.
We still have jokes which only our group seem to understand, but it's slowly spreading out there. So obviously you've been playing D&D for a few months, but what inspired you to make your own modules? Because like I say, Midsummers Knights Cream was a real fun one.
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned before, in the OSS, we tend to run one-shots. And actually, Midsummers Knights Cream is part of a monthly theme that we do in the server.
Oh, cool.
So each month we have like a theme. And it just happened that in July, the theme was summer. Mainly because a lot of us were missing viewers with the quarantine and everything. We wanted to just go out and have fun. So this was the closest compromise that we could get. And Midsummer Night's Dream is my favorite Shakespearean play. I just love the chaos of it all. Like in my Twitter bio, like I identify as chaotic because that's generally how my characters play out, no matter how hard I try. So Midsummer Night's Cream came about as that kind of side project.
Yeah.
And it also I was also doing the RPG Writers Workshop, which is a great workshop. It really helped me organize, and because I've always wanted to publish something, and I was always very scared, very nervous and anxious because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where to really put, like, where could I put my ideas in a form that looks more organized or more readable in a sense, not just my DM notes, because that's generally only readable to me.
Yes, yes.
Because every DM has their own style as to how they write their adventures and stuff like that. So what I did was I took the workshop, I pushed myself. Actually, I actually have ADHD, so it makes that process just that much more difficult to sit down and to write for like at least an hour or 2. And so that kind of challenge pushed me further into trying really hard. Like, I wanted to prove that, you know, ADHD people can write, and they can write well, and we can put our products up there, and they can be good. But at the same time, I wanted to prove to myself that this is a project that I started and that I want to finish. And so I took elements of myself, that whole chaotic idea, and put it in a framework that everyone else could enjoy as well. So that's why the way I explain, or the way I characterize Midsummer Night's Cream, is like a light, comedic, chaotic adventure that's not just for people who look for romance in games, but it's generally for everyone. It's a fun thing that anyone can enjoy and pick up, and just, you know, if they want to break from something serious, or they've just finished a serious campaign and they just want to play something fun, it's something that they can just easily pick up and, you know, run.
You've definitely achieved your goal, because I mean, I was reading through it, and there's little things like the spelling mistake on the city name, on the city sign, where it's just been crossed out, and it's just little things like that which just really sucked me into the world that you created. So first of all, thank you for creating that and giving it to the world, giving it to all of us, but well done in what you achieved. And did you run this particular campaign with your group?
Yes, I ran it with 2 groups actually. So one I ran myself, and then the second I had my friend run. Okay. So after I ran it, because I needed the feedback for stuff that I needed to edit, what parts were too difficult, what parts needed adjustment. So when I was running it, I was constantly getting the feedback, like what encounters were too difficult, or what like, do I need to add more encounters to up the difficulty, because generally in my group we play with at least 5. Yeah. So we always have a big party going on. But if a party with the less number of players wants to try it, like how am I going to adjust it so that it's still a fair encounter, in short?
Yeah, that's good. And I don't want to give too much away about the story of Midsummer's Night's Cream, but you did say it's part of a series, and I know at the end, because I've read it as a DM, it does suggest that you're going to be going on adventures, or be given adventures by one of the main characters in this one. So do you have any plans for the future, something that I can look forward to?
Actually, I was thinking of the titles already for the next 2. So it's going to be like a trilogy in a sense, because one of my players brought up a question when we were ending, when we were doing the epilogue. Actually, they brought up a question, and I was like, yeah, you know what, we can go for this. There can be a third one, the way that to really round out that story, to really put the ending to it. But for now, I just have Midsummer Night's Cream, because I'm working on so many other projects.
Yes.
That I need to focus on.
So,
but definitely in the future.
Excellent. Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to that. I mean, I'm hoping to run Midsummer's Night's Cream with my group at some point once we finish lockdown. So I'm not very I can do online D&D with Theatre of the Mind, but a lot of people in my group like to have all the character miniatures on the table. You mentioned about some other projects, and I was actually introduced to you by one of your friends and colleagues, Ali, and you said you're working on can you tell us about the project you're working on with her, please? Because I've seen a lot of it on Twitter, but
so the project that Ali and I are working on is actually also part of the themed months of the OSS. It's slated for September release. It's called Parthenia Academy.
Yes.
So it's got that boarding school mystery vibe with it. We call it the Dark Academia AU, because it draws heavily on Dark Academia aesthetics, the boarding school mysteries that that we usually read about or us have experienced, but it's that fascination with what goes on behind closed doors in like an exclusive school that really gets people going. So it's this one doesn't really have a lot of magic in it. Rather, it draws upon more of reality, and it also has to Greek and Roman mythology.
Oh, cool.
It's really fun. So one of the one-shots we're working on for it to test the universe, and so to speak, is called Kiss of Wine. So we're writing that right now. It's pretty exciting. It's a totally different direction from Midsummers Knights Cream, which was light, happy, and it was very fantastical. This one is a lot more real, a lot darker in tone and in subject.
And when you say academia, I'm assuming this is taking some inspiration from anime that you may have seen and stuff like that.
No, actually. No, it draws heavily upon themes from Donna Tartt, her novel Secret History, Goldfish, these kinds of settings.
Okay.
It's kind of like a very dark, realistic Harry Potter, in a sense, but not in a non-magical sort of.
I'm glad you explained that to me, because I'm feeling very foolish right now.
We've gotten a lot of comments about that, so we're definitely thinking about how to fix the perception there.
So, is there any other projects that you're working on that you can tell us about, or is it because, like you say, you've got loads on, but and you've been able to find some time to talk to me, but what else can you tell us about?
Right now, I have pitches written, but I don't have them fully written out yet, which I promise I'm going to get to once I can sit down for more than 30 minutes. So one of them is based on the Arcana, the Major Arcana. Another one is called the Bard's Tale series. So these are fairy tale-esque projects. They draw heavily on the ideology and the setting of fairy tales, in which they're like contained universes in a sense, but it's in a longer kind of Chaucer style of narrative. I'm also working on something for Star Trek, which that's an original adventure set in Starfleet Academy to introduce people into the Star Trek universe, but also not overwhelm them, because right now the Star Trek adventures are in a 2D20 system, which not a lot of the players that I know are familiar with. So I'm trying to adapt it into a more D20 style kind of game, so they're not super overwhelmed with the change of pace and the change of setting and everything. I'm also working on Kiss of Wine, Summer Lovin', which was part of the summer OSS month, but I had actually given it to another DM so that we could teach her how to write an adventure from start to finish, how to write encounters. So we also have that kind of mentoring program going on in the server. I also did Metal Weaver Games. They have these wonderful supplements called the Baby Bestiary, which are super cute little creatures with stat blocks and explanations and all of that. So my friends and I wanted a breather campaign in between our heavier campaigns. So I wrote an adventure based off of these supplements called Melamar Rescue Center, which basically you are, I wouldn't say conned, but you're drawn to the rescue center by an ad, and you find yourself taking care and becoming a rescuer for baby creatures who either lost their way or need a home.
Yeah.
Basically. And lastly, my biggest project, something that I've been working on for several years now, and it's my ultimate, I would call it my ultimate baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Empire of Flames. So the Empire of Flames universe, I've been writing it maybe for 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
But I've never gotten to really share it. It's a steampunk universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Victorian era kind of steampunk aesthetic, but instead of focusing on the steampunk weaponry and that sort of thing, the steampunk is just kind of on the setting side.
Mm-hmm.
But what its main draw is actually the fact that in this universe, gunpowder and everything guns were never invented,
Mm-hmm.
and instead we're using bioweaponry. So there's a lot of focus on swordplay
Mm-hmm.
and bioweaponry, as in swords coated with germs and stuff like that. And there's a big fight in ideology between scientists whether miasma theory is correct or virus theory is correct. Of course, we know that now in this point in history, but back then that was an argument that we could posit for them.
Yeah.
So I've run 3 games for it actually. I've run Lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
which I wrote before we got quarantined.
So it's your fault.
It hit a little bit too close to home.
Yes.
When we actually ran it, we were like, oh, I guess we're stuck here now. So in Lockdown, basically, you are a bunch of medical students from a prestigious medical school,
Mm-hmm.
and you're on a scholarship, and you need to pay off your tuition already, but then suddenly the director who promised to meet with you disappears. So now you have to go and find him to get answers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Lockdown. There's also the sequel to it, which happens directly right after, called The Gilded Cage. And finally, I tried writing a combat, purely combat, just to experiment and see how it works. Which I found that I have to rework the entire system.
Is that just because of the balancing, or?
It was a balance thing as well as a mechanics thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't satisfied with the flow of combat and the flow of the fight. So, I mean, that's kind of part of creating a whole new setting.
Mm-hmm.
Within TTRPG. You really have to test every single aspect of it, not just D&D where the framework is more or less set for you.
Yeah.
You have your encounters and you have your basic rules. Writing an entirely new setting requires you to really go into the nitty-gritty and check every aspect of your game,
Mm-hmm.
just to see if things are working as planned or where you need to do revision. So that's why it's kind of been not really a struggle, but that's why things like Parthenia Academy, for example, are really a work in progress, because we are refining a lot of the systems that we need.
It looks like you're having a lot of fun, and I am already super jealous that I'm not part of this group of friends who gets to play all these wonderful ideas that you have. But where do you get the inspiration? Because you're looking at steampunk, you've got Star Trek, you're going into fairy tales. You seem to encompass a lot. So where do you get your inspiration from?
Maybe the fact that my mind is very unorganized, to be honest. I just see something and I'm like, oh, I need to write this. I want to have an adventure here. One of my biggest inspirations, definitely in my entire writing life, would be Lord of the Rings. I grew up loving it. My parents are huge fans of Tolkien. They used to read me Farmer Giles and Farmer Giles of Ham when I was a child. So his world of fantasy, this gigantic universe that he's built, essentially, is something that I've always kind of played in a sense, in my mind. Like, oh, this is what I want to be doing. And I read a lot. I was that kid who always had a book in hand. So I was always trying to imagine, what would it be like? What would I do in this scenario? Where could I have gone? Or things like that. And that kind of like inspired me to write, because I wanted to experience what the characters were experiencing. I would also grab inspiration sometimes from words, or get it from my friends. Like, say something like, oh, I want to play a game like this, like this, like this. Oh, I'm like, okay, I can do that. You know, let's challenge ourselves to be creative and go for something like that. You know, so
yeah,
I feel like even when I'm trapped right now in my apartment, there's still a lot of inspiration that I can get from people's experiences, just reading stories online, like seeing a Facebook post, like, or seeing an Instagram story of someone who managed to escape quarantine. You know, you put yourself in their shoes, and that kind of triggers you, like, okay, here is an idea that I can run with. Where do I want to go now? And everything else kind of just falls into place afterwards, the setting and stuff like that.
That's excellent. I mean, it sounds like you just get inspiration from everywhere, whether you're reading. I mean, when I read a book, if it's a good book, in my head, I'm there. I'm that character. You know, I'm seeing everything, so I know exactly what you mean by that. And I think you're doing the same with what you see on TV, what you see on social media, and you want to inject yourself, you want to dive into that world. And because of the talents that you have as an amazing writer, if you don't mind me saying, you're able to do that creation and share it with your friends, and now with the world as well. Thank you.
Yeah, mainly I just wanted people to be able to have fun. Like, this is what I enjoy. I want to be able to share it with everyone else, and maybe like inject a bit of learning along the way.
Yeah. And
or reflection.
Is it writing that you do for a living, or is it just your main pastime and hobby?
It is, well, right now I just graduated from uni.
Oh, congratulations.
So, literally a month ago.
Congrats.
So right now, thank you very much. Right now I have no job. Thank you, quarantine. But so right now I guess it's my main flow of income.
Right,
but,
so lots of writing.
Yeah, essentially. I by trade I'm a psychology major, so I do talks. Sometimes I try to inject a lot of what I learned in psychology into my writing, into my sessions. Like, for example, in Descent into Avernus, it can get very demanding mentally and emotionally, which is what the game is meant to do. It's meant to put you in a difficult situation, moral choices and everything like that. So at the end of the sessions, we learn to debrief ourselves. So to debrief is basically, to get yourself back to that baseline that you were feeling when you started the game.
Yeah.
So you don't leave the table feeling uneasy, or you don't feel bad, or you feel sad. So debriefing after every adventure started to become the norm for us. We'd stay a little after, we'd talk about it, we'd talk about our feelings, we'd share the moments that we had, basically just waiting to get back to a sort of baseline where we're okay again.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the things another thing that I try to inject into my writing, like I think you've seen it in MKC, where I always made a point of making sure to remind the DM constantly, like check if your players are okay with this.
Yes,
Are they?
I did notice that.
Yeah, is this content still okay? Make sure to ask. Don't ask in the beginning and then find out later on that they actually didn't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, I knew where you were going with that because I did see that in MKC. I think that I've seen on social media some instances where people have live streamed something that was very uncomfortable. So it was good that you signposted that, because, like I say, I knew the synopsis, I knew what it was about, but when I actually read into it more, I was like, yes, it's really good that you have signposted that. And the interesting thing about the debriefing, I did something similar when I was a DM, in that I would always ask for feedback, but I wouldn't look at it from a psychology level. I'd look at it from a very selfish, was I doing a good job level. But I think it is good for all D&D players or roleplay or any sort of RPG gaming to have that feedback as well. But being able to debrief, as you suggested, is a fantastic idea. And that would be something that I think a lot of people could benefit from, because in these fantasy worlds that we live in, things do happen. Bad things do happen. And I've seen people crying because their character died, or crying because of the choice that a character had to make. And it's like, well, as Andy, it's easy for me to make that choice. However, as my character X, I can't make that choice, and the bad thing has to happen. So I have seen that in live streams that I've run, and even in a game that I've been involved in as well. I've seen something where a player was very uneasy, very, very uneasy throughout the game. So, thank you.
We actually had that recently, where in another campaign where I wasn't actually involved in, but we got updates from the DM. One of the characters died, and we even, because it was so early in the game, we wanted to really, the other players were like, okay, DM, can we do this? Can we do this? So the DM agreed, actually, and they tried every single dice roller that they had. They tried their physical dice, they tried Avray, they tried Sidekick, they tried everything, but they still failed their death saves. And at the end of it, of course, the players were crying. All of them were crying. The one character who died cried as well. And after that, we hung around, we talked, we went into our chat, we sent memes, we sent gifts, all of that, trying to cheer them up and trying to remember that it's a character. Like, we invest so much as players into our characters, and it's sometimes hard to get out of that headspace. So I think that chatting after a game and debriefing, especially debriefing after a game, is very important to get yourself back into that headspace that you were in, and not really dwell on what happened. Try to pull yourself out from the world that you guys were playing in, into the world that you are in, and to make sure that you're okay.
Yes.
Like, I feel that's a very important thing that we should do.
It's very easy for someone to say, oh, it's just a game, but it's not. That character might have been with you for 2 months. It's an extension of you, of your soul almost. I know there was times when I was DMing, I thought about killing some of the characters, but my group had these characters which had their quirks and had their, which as a DM frustrated me, but they had them for 3 years. And I don't know what would have happened if I had done that. It could have been quite devastating, but sometimes if the dice don't go the right way, that is life as well. Sometimes in real life the dice don't fall right for us, sadly. Very sombering, but very very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, but that's what you get for talking to psychologists.
Yes.
I guess.
There you go, D&D counselling. You can do D&D counselling online.
That would be a great idea.
That would be your perfect job. I mean, literally, if you can have someone say, I lost my level 18 bardic gnome, and you can have an online D&D counselling session.
That would be great, actually.
No,
I would love that.
To be honest with you, I mean, I jest at the moment, but to be honest with you, I think people probably would actually like that. And finally, Aki, what advice would you, as an amazing writer, give someone who wants to start making their own stories?
Advice would be go on, like, just write that first word, write it down, and keep going. Don't be afraid. Don't think, what if people won't like it? What if, I make a mistake, or what if I make a typo, or what if this sentence doesn't make grammatical sense? It's okay, because you can always go back and edit it.
Yeah.
Don't stop yourself before you start. Just
that's
be
good.
fearless in your writing.
Be fearless.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you ever so much. And thank you once again for giving me your time and coming on Geek Curio. I just want to say to anyone who's watching the show that Aki's campaign, a one-shot Midsummers Knights Cream, is available on the DM's Guild. It's $3.50, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, $3.50.
It's also available on the RPG Writer Workshop Summer 2020 bundle. If you guys want to pick up, a lot of great writers also have included themselves in the bundle, so it's a great price for the amount of adventures you get.
That's fantastic. I'd love to be exposed to more wonderful writers. So what I'll do, I'll post some links and we'll put them in the the descriptions below. But once again, thank you ever so much, Aki, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Take care.
Thank you.